And this is the Rogue 7.2 update, and we'll start off with Assassination. Now, Assassination saw a couple additions this patch, none of which really changed the rotation, but the rotation has been tweaked a little bit. Namely, I've adjusted the conditions for spells like Rupture and Garrote, and also Envenom, as well as adjusted Kingsbane to appear a little bit more stingy with how much time you have left on Envenom. There's also going to be an Envenom tracker that appears above the rotation when you use the spell. So all in all the changes that you'll see here are just it's just a change in focus for how the spec works. Whereas before it was trying to maximize the absolute amount of time you can get on Rupture, it's now more about keeping the buff going, keeping it at maximum damage as much as you can, and you'll see it being used at shorter amounts of combo points than before. Same goes for Envenom, especially when using buffs like Elaborate Planning, and all of that has been taken into account. But the spec should still get the maximum amount of single target DPS that you need. Moving into Outlaw, there is a couple changes that took place. Pistol Shot will now appear a little bit more frequently than it did before, and I've changed the conditions for Roll of Bones slightly. What I've done is the counter had an error where when the buff would reach less than 5 seconds, it would constantly tell it that you need to reapply. And what would happen is you would reapply the buff, it would add the new counters for the points from those buffs to the new counter, and then at the same moment it would reset the counters because the previous buff had less than 5 seconds. So that was where the bug was coming from. And what I've done is to combat it is I've made it so that rather than being the buffs resetting at less than 5 seconds, it resets at exactly 5 seconds, which is a single moment. It'll only happen at that moment of 5 seconds and nowhere else. What this will let you do is as the buffs are about to fall off, the counter will reset, allowing you an opportunity to reroll, and it'll tell you to do so. Alternatively, if you were to reroll early, it would just remove the buffs completely, and that issue should completely be gone. So you'll see I have a new row of conditions there, and that should take that into account. Now, as for the rotation itself, everything was actually working very well. The only feedback I heard was the Roll the Bones bug, but if you notice anything wrong with any three of the specs, please give me the feedback. That's how I can make these changes and fix bugs as they show up. Now, moving into Subtlety, no major changes happened here. There was a little tweak that I did for Shadow Dance, just so that it shows up a little bit more just a little bit more often, and also a few changes were made for the combo point users so that they show up a little earlier than they did before. But nothing huge was actually changed here. Subtlety is one of those specs that early on without gear it kind of sucks. Like if you don't have the stats to kind of back it up, it kind of feels really slow and clunky, but once you get that gear, it actually functions really well, and the profile is going to function very well with higher gear levels, and you should see that very quickly as you play it. That being said, it'll still show you all the important information. You'll still see Shadow Dance, you'll still see your combo points, you'll still see all the other things pop up when you need to use them. But yeah, like I said, Subtlety is a spec that really does require some gear to get going into its groove. That all being said, I hope you guys like what you see. As always, please give me your feedback on these profiles. That's the only way I could make quality changes to them in the future. As many of you might suspect, I am not the best rogue player in the world. So I'm sure many of you are better than me, so please give me your feedback so I can make these changes. And yeah, I hope you guys like what you see, and I will catch you guys in the next video.